How's it going, guys? It's Paul Myers, licensed counselor, owner and lean therapist of Intentional Counseling. We're a group practice in Frisco. We specialize in mental health. You can check us out at intentional-counseling.com. And today I'm going to cover a quick overview of how expectations and happiness are directly linked to each other. So typically, the general rule is, expectations tend to be based off of our past or experiences we've had or our childhood or our parents. And we tend to create these expectations in our minds of what we feel like should happen or how life should be. And usually the higher those expectations go, it really directly affects how happy an individual is with their life and their contentment. So I'm going to cover a quick interesting view on that, and you can be more aware of your own expectations and hopefully increase your happiness, which would be good. So we have over here, there's like 3 scales I want you to be aware of. So right here we have a 0% to 100%. This is your expectations of yourself, right? So expectations of self. Usually, one thing I've noticed, if you struggle with any kind of perfectionism or anxiety, or people that tend to be very angry a lot, they have really high expectations. So let's pretend in this scenario we have really high expectations. Expectations are about here. Then in the middle we have a 0 to 100%. This is your performance, your reality, right? So I would call it reality. So your actual results, right? Usually people with high expectations usually do pretty well, but not all the time. So let's just say sustainably they're going to have a pretty good performance. It's pretty good. And then over here we have 0% to 100%. This is really tends to be other people's, others' expectations of you, which usually tend to be lower. I mean, people usually kind of expect, average or a little bit above average. And so that's kind of an example I'm going to give you, and I'm going to show you how these are all linked. So usually the further up your expectations go, what happens is there's a larger and larger and larger amount of things that you are not satisfied with. So as the expectations rise, the percentage of things you're not happy with increase, and the percentage of things you are happy with decrease. So because everything above the line, we're good with that, very satisfied, very happy, very content with that. Everything below the line, not okay. So we're upset or dissatisfied, right? And so one thing I've noticed with those high expectations usually decreases happiness. As a human being, we are not perfect. We all have flaws. So that's normal. So you can't be on point 24/7, which means you're not always going to live up to a high standard like that, right? And so more in reality and all actuality, what tends to happen is our performance and the reality of the situation usually tends to be lower if we have really high expectations like that, if you're perfectionistic. And so what we'll do, the person with high expectations will really focus on the difference between where their expectations are versus what's actually occurring. And what they tend to do is they see this as failure. And they tend to be self-critical or too hard on themselves, and they're not happy with their result, right? Versus other people, they're looking at you, they're not expecting as much, and they look at the difference between what they expect versus where you are, and usually it's higher. And so they see this is a good job. They see good, awesome. So one easy way to, if you have high expectations, if you relate to that, one easy way to help you lower those expectations is to kind of cross-reference what other people see. If we have high expectations of ourselves, we tend to be negatively biased towards ourselves and have a skewed view. And everybody has blind spots. So if you have friends, family, people that have your best interest in mind, that really know you, cross-reference with them how you're doing, and ask them to be honest with you. Say, hey, I'm expecting this from me. Am I being realistic? And a lot of the time, if you have high standards, other people are going to say, dude, you're doing great. Ease up on yourself. You're doing fine, and so that will happen a lot with people. The fear, I get this a lot. Anytime I challenge somebody who has high expectations, their fears are, if they lower their expectations, that they're just going to be complacent and lazy and they're not going to do well in their life, right? That's the fear. One thing I've noticed is the results in life actually have more to do with your effort and less to do with expectation. That actually what makes you successful is effort. So you put effort in, increased effort always increases your probability of success. But expectations are the vantage point at which whether you're able to enjoy it or not. So expectations is more just a perspective and a mindset and a philosophy that ends up ruining your life if you have high ones. Versus actual effort is always a good thing, right? So I always say, hey, always put the work in, always have good work ethic, always put in the effort. That's a good thing. But expectations usually get in the way and become detrimental, okay? You put effort in, your results will be good, but the expectations will ruin you from being able to enjoy it. Versus if you have a little lower expectations, we're still going to put the work in. Now you can actually appreciate it, right? If my expectations are here, then I'm going to see the difference between where my expectations are versus where my performance is, and I'm going to be very satisfied with that. Even though the performance is exactly the same, my perception of it is different, and I can enjoy it. You see? So that will help you a lot. When in doubt, ease up on yourself, lower those expectations. I have a 20% room for error philosophy, where as a human being, 20% room for error, everybody can make mistakes. Even professionals make mistakes, even when they've been spending their whole life dedicated to something. So don't beat yourself up if you have high standards, or if you have high expectations of others even. That'll make you just as upset. You'll just be angry instead of anxious. But ease up on yourself, ease up on others. Let's all have a culture and a philosophy of grace and forgiveness. God forgives us. Who are we not to forgive? So, ease up on yourself, accept God's forgiveness for you, extend that to others, lower your expectations, guarantee you'll be happier. All right, guys, I appreciate you stopping by. If you have any questions or comments, leave it below. Please subscribe. That always helps us grow and help more people. And until next time, take care.